What's going on, everybody? Just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Just wanted to talk a little bit about like the simplicity of really just being happy, and how when we really stop overcomplicating things and just getting in our mind about what if land and woulda, coulda, shoulda, and all these things we tell ourselves of why we can't be happy right now. When you realize that you always just have just one of two choices. Are you going to listen to the voice of fear and separation and what you don't want? Basically, are you going to listen to the voice for just suffering and a perpetual hell, basically? Or are you going to choose love instead and do something new and explore that newness? And there's something to be said about hope when it comes to being present. It's really just this energy of just knowing that maybe the external is showing you some sort of challenge to your beliefs, or maybe putting you in a state of fear. But when you choose, instead of reacting to the fear, and choose more to create a different meaning, and go within to do these things, it's all part of this walk. But it's just like always making the choice, instead of just reacting out of fear, to go, I'm going to choose love. I'm going to choose a new thought. I'm going to choose to express the new man, which ultimately, when you start to really understand how connected we all are, and how we all start to mirror different aspects of consciousness back to each other, it's easy to start to realize that, you start changing. I don't know if you start changing it so much as you start choosing differently, letting go of these old stories, and knowing that by doing that, it's your faith that's pleasing to God, and God rewards that. It's not the work of your ego that's pleasing. That's a big part of like getting out of this you got to do through your own effort and your own mental powers, and all these things, and thinking that is what pleases God. When the Bible really talks about your works of righteousness, and this is beyond just like maybe Christian terms or Jewish terms, or any of these types of things, where it's like it includes spiritual terms like law of attraction and stuff like that, where people think. And the Bible talks about the law as being a curse. So, part of this curse, I believe, is by the act of wanting, it all of a sudden pushes what you actually desire away from you. So it's like, the more you shift out of that mindset and realize Jesus already did the work, you are blessed now, and God's given you everything now. And so much of this is just coming to the realization of knowing that. And realizing that more and more as you're experiencing your day-to-day reality, your perception of reality, at least, that it becomes more mirrored to these states of consciousness, almost like your identity becomes pushed out. And the more your identity is in line with who you actually are, the new you, which is really just you are love, you are not fear. But like part of the ego creations is projecting all this fear onto reality, onto others, into situations, circumstances, events, projecting this fear. And it's like the more that you believe fear, and not to even judge yourself for doing that, because a lot of it is just trying to keep yourself safe from a perceived threat, real or imagined, and realize that even the imagined, there is some reality to it. But that doesn't mean that is how it actually is in truth. It's like as you start to change your inner beliefs and your assumptions to align more with love, and listening to the correct guide. The guide is not out here. The guide is within you. It's the voice for peace within. You be still, and you start to connect with that love energy, as that stillness and that presence, and also that awareness of being. But then there's an energy there. It's by the time you start to put it in words, it's almost like you're starting to distort it. It says an experience, so that you can experientially know what I'm talking about when I say that, and that's for you to experience every moment of now. Breathe it in, breathe it out, get super present, and you start to connect with that more and more, and you start to connect more with the outer environment. It's like I forget where I heard this, but it's like a kind of a saying that maybe helps to visualize the this dynamic between the inner and the outer. It's like if you were a fish, God would be the water. It's like it's all around. It's all part of the screen of space that's there. It's like you can project your own fears and insecurities and bullshits and dramas onto the screen, but that, is part of the illusion. It's like as you start to change those beliefs and those assumptions, you start to see the new start to get mirrored out. And you start to realize that, God is in the present moment. Love is always in the present moment. And realizing that the ego mind thinks it knows everything when in reality it knows absolutely nothing. It's becoming super I don't know, moldable. I don't know if moldable is the right word, but just like trusting. Faith, I guess, is just trusting in that love that you're supported, and that everything is ultimately going to build build you up to just this awakening process, to waking up. It's like you can continuously be in these loops and these patterns where they just you keep reacting to these unconscious fears and these unconscious stories that we tell ourselves, most of which are not real. A lot of them are just programmed from childhood. Also programmed from society, and but by the time it gets to that point, it's like you're already in this feedback loop of it. It's like where your beliefs start to, the Bible talks about your faith being more precious than really anything. And you start to see that as you start to realize how much your faith, what you believe about, and your assumptions about reality start to become more concrete, as you say, and especially if you have limiting beliefs, you start getting in this smaller and smaller box, and it's almost like you build your own little prison, of fear, to a point where it's like you're in this Groundhog Day. You're just trying to just not get fucked with, on some level, but then it's just like, but your beliefs that these things are separate from you are perpetuating that same drama, of the ego, which don't guilt and shame yourself because of the ego. Look at that. Start to heal that. Look at love. Look at God. Look at Jesus as a healer, not just some critic that just wants to just point out the obvious problem. The problem is you keep continuously listening to the voice of fear and trying to do it on your own when you're not alone. You don't need to do it on your own, and actually God's in charge of this awakening process. And so the more that you let go of that control of like, the ego, I know what's going on and I want to do this and that and the other, so much of it is because it's like in the mind you think that that's going to make you happy. Yeah, it's going to make you happy, but what you really start to realize is you're chasing shadows. And you might have to do that for however long until you realize that these things that you've built up is not actually what creates the happiness. A lot of the things that we like is actually bringing us into stillness, making us present. I was talking to a buddy, because like, I like to exercise and stuff, and not so much lift weights because like, I do that just through doing handyman jobs, lifting heavy things from time to time and being active. But, I like to go on bike rides and stuff. But, in that, it brings you into like the present moment as you push your body. And like, I think that's why a lot of people, feel some sort of energetic charge after they work out, because it's like it's almost like you're putting love into it by your attention and your focus, and you're pushing past that fear boundary and really trying to get into that. And it might not make total sense. It doesn't really feel as how I want it to come out, but like, getting more and more into this kind of flow where you're just not in your mind about, that, well, this is going to make me happy out here. It's like you be happy, you put that state of consciousness on. And, as you start to realize that the past is not just, going away from you into some oblivion, but it's always coming back to meet you in the present. It's like the same beliefs, the same thoughts, the same assumptions, your same everything. It doesn't just drift away. It comes back, and then you start repeating these unconscious patterns. And until you become consciously aware of that, then you're moving things around. You're doing your jobs. You're doing your obligations, your responsibilities that you built up in your mind, like you think that's normal to do. Just societally normal, I guess, but like meanwhile in the present moment you're dealing with all of these, either fear or love, and it's like when you're unconscious, you're just living in fear, and then in that state then it starts projecting out, and then it's like this feedback loop where it's just like, oh, why is there just one thing after another, and then you try to keep yourself safe from that by getting in the mind about it more, which is now perpetuating it even more. And it's like you don't you can break out of that cycle. It's like by recognizing it, and then repetition. By growing your confidence in your faith, and realize like, why am I in the cycle of suffering? When I'm blessed. Why did I fall back into this old identity from the old man, where that's normal to suffer and just feel like everything's separate and I'm a victim? And why am I not putting on the new man? Just becoming aware that that's a possibility to do is a game changer, because in that moment you can make the choice to do it differently, and ask God to help you do that differently. Ask God to inspire new thoughts inside of you, and boom, ask, believe, receive, and you'll get it. You start getting these new thoughts, which then, as you connect with that energy of the new, it's like you don't sit there and battle with the 3D. You don't battle with the physical. It's all symbolic of consciousness within this inner world, the inner man basically being projected out, like the larger self. And consciousness, it's snapping out of the small mind of the ego, it thinks it's a body and separate from everything, and just struggling to survive. When everything is abundant, everything's connected in creation. It's like that. It's just letting go of these beliefs. But the thing of it is as you hold on to these old beliefs of like Newtonian ideas and the materialistic point of view paradigm, it's going to start reflecting that too. So it's like, yeah, you're right. You're seeing the evidence, but it's like, change that paradigm and you'll see new evidence that's always been there. It's like you're not reinventing anything. It's like that was one of the things like in my walk, I guess, where it's like, oh, it's getting exposed to all these like new concepts through experience, and it's like, Jesus, there's what is going on? It's like thinking I invented something. It's like, oh, this is like groundbreaking information. It's like no one's going to believe, that this is. Then you find out it's common knowledge to the awakened part of humanity for thousands of years. This isn't new. Nothing's new. It's just the veil of it's being lifted, and with that, then you see people that start getting added to your life. Basically, is like almost like stepping stones, almost, across like the vertical dimension of reality. The Newtonian kind of philosophy of linear time, which is an illusion, is like this flow that things, from beginning, middle, and end, past, present, and future. But in the actual vertical, in the quantum kind of field, the things from the past, the consciousness, the thoughts, the beliefs, and the assumption, all the identity, who you believe yourself to be from the past, keeps coming into the present to confront you. Is that who you want to be now? It's always trying to show you, as a way to evolve. It's like by the time you see it in the physical, it's already the past, because it's the past from yesterday being brought into today. So you start changing your today's, your present, by one, starting to connect more with the journey and the destination. Who you are now. Then you have the ideal, which is love. It's always growing, and your connectedness with God and everything else in creation, and love and joy and peace and all these states of consciousness. Now, you put those on today, and you start being that ideal. That's your identity. That's who you are. And as you're doing now, as you're getting these new thoughts and you're getting these new beliefs, those start to become mirrored in your tomorrows. So it's like there's like this delay where you keep walking into the past and the present, but as you become more still and choose love instead of reacting out of fear, then all of a sudden there's this transformation of mind that happens, but then there's also a transformation in perception, and there's also like a transformation in just your interactions with people, how people treat you, how you're dealing with different things become easier. It's been just drawn to you as you stop resisting life, as you start to embrace life and trust that God already knows what you want. You don't got to keep asking and petitioning for it. God already is well aware of it. But it's like by the time that if you just got it right now, money's a good example, because in scarcity, the scarcity mindset of money, prosperity, abundance, it's like it's a twofold fear. There's the fear of scarcity, of like there's not enough. And then when you actually do, you can make millions of dollars and still be in scarcity in your mind. And instead of like, oh, I don't have enough, then the fear is, then I'm going to lose it. And so there's these money problems either way. If you have too much of it or you have too little of it, it's irrelevant, because you're still in fear and anxiety. Anxiety is a flavor of fear, and that's not your inheritance. Your inheritance is love, joy, and peace to the max. Jesus already is giving you. It's like how does Jesus feel? Does Jesus worry about these things? Jesus is inside of you, and so it's like you can connect with that energy. Your heart and Jesus's heart can become one, and you feel that exponential or experientially. It's not something you get in your mind about. And it's like, oh, the egoic consciousness. Oh, I'm going to think my way into being happy. You'll be thinking forever. You're not going to get down to the bottom of the thoughts. It's like if you're in like an anger state of consciousness, think of it as an outfit, like clothes. It's an identity. It's who you are, and the thoughts correspond to that state of consciousness. So it's like you put on, and maybe unconsciously drift into anger. Maybe something triggered you. Who knows? But it's like all of a sudden, instead of you choosing to put that on, it's almost like the old man just already is wearing that. And so it's like then all of a sudden then you start getting more irritating situations. You start to see separateness in your environment. It's like you start getting into victim mentality. You stop taking responsibility of like, oh, maybe that is a seed that just now sprouted from a past thought that I've been watering, or just not even being consciously aware that you're doing it, and it just sprung up. Instead of just getting triggered and then getting in a feedback loop, basically, where it's like, then you start getting more pissed, and then you start getting more angry and seeing more and more separateness, but then there is no separateness, but the mirror starts creating even more irritations because you're looking at yourself in that state. It's like, so you change that state now by just realizing you can. It's like, I'm just going to choose to be happy instead. It's like, obviously I'm in a state of anger. I don't know how I drifted into it, but it's okay. I'm not going to just sit in it. You don't got to, because that's not for you. That's not who you are. You put on the new identity, who you are in Christ. What does that look like? You put that on, and you start seeing that. You connect with God to get that kind of wisdom and understanding, because it doesn't come from out here. It might be something that God's been whispering within, then all of a sudden brings you somebody who vocalizes it, and it grows your faith a little bit. But ultimately go within and ask, believe, and receive. It's all of that inner journey, that relationship, that kind of vibe. But don't look at people out here as being like the enemy either. It's important to start putting love into the external reality. I know I spent a lot of time in my old man not trusting people, circumstances, events, and there's real kind of a lot of evidence in my 3D of why that was a benefit. But then if you're not trusting anything at all, then you're almost looking at everything outside of you as like being a threat. instead of loving it. And so this is part of that shift of like looking out more to creation with a loving lens, with a forgiving lens, because so much of like what you're seeing that may be triggering is something within your own consciousness. And it's like, as you forgive others, you forgive yourself. And some, maybe that's a different way, but then it's like, then you let it, then it's gone. It's gone out of your consciousness, and it's like you stop having to deal with it. It's like as soon as you forgive, the ego likes to think it knows what forgiveness is. The ego likes to think it knows what love is, and gratitude. All these words, these labels, these symbols. You almost have to get to a point where you just throw out everything and be open to relearning it as an adult. Not through I'm a child and my parents told me, so that's why I believe it. Most people's parents are just people. It's like I can point you to many people that have kids, and it's like they put their beliefs and everything on their kid, and that's part of God created us to create things, and to the ultimate degree, you can create people. Or you can create businesses, you can create systems, you can build and improve, and these are gifts that God has given us. But like recognizing, not put it on a pedestal what your parents taught you. People's parents teach you all sorts of things, but not to totally destroy the house that was built, but look at every of these beliefs that come up that you may have learned early on in childhood. A lot of maybe limiting beliefs, not feeling worthy, feeling like a burden, not getting attention, or all these types of stuff, and then you internalize that, recognizing more and more so this like you don't have to keep doing that. It's not helpful. And it's not even real. These are just make-believe things. It's like you really start to realize that everybody's making believe. Everybody's pretending they know something or whatever. And it's not to sit there like, oh, I'm right and you're wrong. It's like, I don't even give a shit to debate. It's like, do whatever, do you. It's just don't bring your suffering to me and then expect me to suffer along with you. That's it. It's like you don't have to continuously suffer. And the answer is within you. So, do that. But like getting more and more into this kind of vibe though, and but I think I'm gonna probably bounce. I got my wife's at work. I got some chores and stuff I wanted to get done before she gets here. I just wanted to just get on there and get on here and kind of bring that to you guys' attention, that you always just have this choice to make a new choice instead of choosing fear and the old patterns, just to choose again. You can, the problem and the solution is in the same thought. It's like you get these thoughts, you start spinning you out, maybe triggering you. You get fear. Recognize more and more, all fear is an illusion. So if you're feeling it, you're feeling that constriction, you're feeling that energy drain, really start, the way of the heart, what feels expansive, what feels good in your heart, your soul, you use that as your gauge. And then also you go within, ask God to inspire you to the truth, to show you, to help you. You're not alone, and so it's like you're connected with God in this way, and part of it is understanding that more and more so each day. But the more that you choose to put on the new man, you're already blessed. It's like you don't got to keep asking for these things. It's like, oh, if I just won the lottery, or if I just don't. It's like, well, how did you feel if you did win the lottery? You already have. It's like you're part of God's abundance. Nothing's impossible to you. It's yours now. Then the ego is like, oh, well, now I got to struggle and I got to strive, and it's good that I don't have. Then the ego starts trying to make try to take that away from you. It's like you're happy now, and part of it is when these things bubble up, when it's like preventing you, and that's like part of like meditating. It's like just being still, just like really just feeling that love energy right now. The more that you connect in that vibration by choosing to just feel God's presence within you, you start to feel, almost makes you start to cry, just this energy, because it's just so powerful. But it's like as you start to connect with it, then the resistance comes up, which kind of creates this separation because maybe you don't want to feel that vulnerable, or whatever story that's preventing that full realization now comes up. That's when you just, okay, well, I'm going to look at that limiting belief. I'm going to look at what that is, maybe experience it, in your consciousness, but realize that you can make a new choice, and things don't have to keep running in these patterns. It's like maybe in the past, it came up and you felt whatever you felt. You don't have to keep yourself safe from that danger anymore. That illusion is gone. It's like, how would you feel if you're already in heaven? You don't got to worry about these things. Live in the end, and the end will will the means. So it's like, as you become more and more present in the kingdom of God now, then it starts to project out, into reality, and it's like, as you start to have that faith, and do that experience, by doing, it's like by practicing it, it's like then you see it more and more and more, and you know that it's real. Experientially, it's real. That's what I feel like real wisdom is knowledge plus experience. And it's like you'd have some someone from the world that's like, well, that's like trying to explain why that's gibberish. And it's like, what you're saying is, it's like, maybe a good example is like music, because there's so many people that are like into like maybe theory land, or like it's like, oh yeah, well, this guy played this instrument, and so, or it reminds me of like a guitar player that just fucks around with their pedals. It's like you just want to jam, and it's like, oh, you got two guitar players, and I've been in this situation many times where it's like you go to like you're trying to tune up, and the drummer starts beating on his shit, and it's like, dude, trying to get this in tune real quick, but then you got somebody who thinks that they're hot shit on the guitar, and then it's like, okay, well, let's jam, and then let's vibe together, see what you got, and they talk a big game, and then they spend a half hour tiddling around with their pedals and just not even playing, but they want to tell you something, it's like how to play even though they're not playing. It's just like, your opinion doesn't really hold much weight with me because you're not playing. It's like the same thing. It's like, somebody in theory land will be like, well, they got their own theories and paradigm of reality, and it's like, well, yeah, you're experiencing that. I'm not doubting that. Yes, like, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's like, don't let the opinions of others drown out your own personal experience. Don't let the outer tell you what's real. The inner tells you what's real. And so with that being said, I think I'm gonna bounce. So I like to wrap these things up with a quote unquote random Bible verse. Nothing's random. God's 100% in control of literally everything and speaks to us in the moment. I just want to give God a chance to speak to you, who's ever listening now. Let's see what God has to say. Colossians 3:13, forbearing one another and forgiving one another, if any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so also do ye. There you go. And with that being said, I appreciate you guys liking, sharing, subscribing, all the social networking things. I appreciate your support in the spiritual and in the physical, and I appreciate your attention for this long. Hopefully I've been a good steward of that. And with that being said, this is for everybody. It's like, when do you experience this? It's like, now. Be happy now. I really encourage you to make that choice. Ask Jesus to help you do it. Ultimately, it's with God. God's within you, so just ask. It's you don't have to continuously just suffer and live in this Groundhog Day. Life is for you to live and love and joy and peace and all that kind of stuff. That's for you to experience right now. And so, hopefully I can remind you of that. And so, with that being said, till the next now, everybody have a good rest of your life, and God bless.